Is anybody out there?
Mark Radcliffe. 1FM. Oh, yes.
Stephen Daly is on the line from Manhattan. This is Uptown, Middletown. Where are you?
From Middlesex.
The Scottish correspondent.
I love that. I think I'm going to get a business card printed.
Correspondent. Right, now then, Andy Warhol, we were talking biopics a couple of weeks ago, and I believe it's Warhol fever at the moment.
Oh, there's not one, not four, but 3 Andy Warhol-related films coming on.
As Tom Cruise was going to play him on in an inspired bit of casting, wasn't he?
No, he was going to play Phil Spector.
Oh, Phil Spector, that's right.
Even better, even better. But yeah, the Warhol thing, these things just come up in packs, you know? So you've got I Shot Andy Warhol, which is really the story of Valerie Solanas, the Society of Cutting Up Men.
The story of Valerie Singleton.
I'm not going to touch that. But the funny thing about that one is it's more about the woman that shot Warhol. It's directed by Mary Harron, who's occasionally works for the BBC's Late Show.
Right. Not for much longer, eh?
I'd hope not. The thing that Warhol would probably approve of is there's all these sort of virtual stars in the film, people who are sort of famous for doing not a lot. Tanny Welsh.
Oh, Tanny Welsh, yeah.
Daughter of Raquel.
I was reading about her. I felt a bit sorry for her, actually. Sort of lived in a mother's shadow, no pun intended.
Oh,
no,
I'm not going to touch those either.
Oh, God, we're getting seriously dodgy here.
Steady on.
Ah, the voice of reason.
Yeah.
Go on, please.
Tanny Welsh is in it, and I'm sure she'll be grateful for your pity. Donovan Leitch, who deserves your pity, the son of, Mellow Yellow.
Have you heard his new single?
No, what's it like?
Nancy Boy, Our Friends Electric.
Oh my God, I think it could be a hit, no?
Well, I don't know. It's a shed, I think is the only way I can describe it.
Okay.
It is dreadful.
Oh dear, that's a shame. I thought, 80s revival, novelty hit. Maybe not.
No.
Okay. I guess he doesn't have that those sonorous tones of a Gary Newman to carry it off, huh?
No.
But the other one who's in the Warhol film is Jared Harris, the son of Richard Harris, MacArthur Park and all that.
The son of Keith Harris, who does Orville.
Oh, if only. So there's the trio with brio, The funny thing is, Jared Harris was I went to see the other night, the first ever American production of a Mike Leigh play.
Oh, yeah.
Now, how weird was that? Very odd. It just didn't ring true.
Which play was it?
It's called Ecstasy, which I'd never seen on TV.
Oh,
it's
I don't
a
know
stage
that
play.
one.
It was set in 1979 in Kilburn, and it was a lot of quite depressing cultural references in there,
Right.
So anyway, that's the I Shot Andy Warhol film. There's another film, Low Life and High Heels, which is based on Holly Woodlawn, one of the drag queens in the Warhol scene.
Yeah.
They may not even show Warhol in that, but that's coming up as well. And Basquiat, the very, very mildly accomplished Jean-Michel Basquiat, a so-called graffiti artist. And the wrinkle there is that David Bowie is playing Warhol. So I can hear him just about, sending you to sleep with that one.
Right, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say that the funny thing is that Warhol, I think, would approve of a lot of this stuff, and he would also approve of some of the weird twists that this business called show has been taking recently. Douglas Copeland, I don't know if you know him, the author of Generation X and all that.
Yeah.
He's decided to do away with the sort of personality interview altogether and the book reading. How you have sort of people coming up there to read stuff.
Sure.
Not for our Douglas. He's produced a half-hour videotape that he puts on to let you have the Douglas Copeland experience. Very tongue-in-cheek. It's called Close Personal Friend. And went to this huge launch of that this week. It was actually quite a laugh, but he's removed himself one stage from the usual celebrity run-of-the-mill, affairs. What's her name? There's a supermodel, completely vacant, pretty vacant, Bridget Hall. I just happened to work out of this office and share it with a couple other firms. One of them is a PR firm. They had this supermodel in there the other night doing an online conference with hundreds of her close personal friends.
Yeah.
And they're all typing questions to her, and she's sitting there chewing gum, and one of the workers is punching her questions in. One of the most depressing sights you've ever seen. But the funny thing is, I was sitting next door reading the conference as the public was seeing it, and they only let vetted questions through for Bridget's eyes, but you should have seen some of the muck that these people were shouting at her in row 17,
I'll bet. So, why did she need to be there at all? If it was just on the internet, you could hire anybody to type it. You could hire someone smart.
Exactly. It's all virtual to me, Mark.
Right, okay. Stephen Daly, online from Manhattan. Our Douglas Stewart of the BMX Bandits is making one of his periodic appearances on the programme, telling us about all the culture and iconography of Scotland.
Yeah.
Go on.
I thought with the summer holidays coming up, a lot of people might be planning a little trip to the Highlands. And if you are, there's definitely some shrines of culture that you really must visit. At first they may look like shops, but C. John Taylor, who owns these shops, will assure you they are not shops, they are exhibitions.
Right.
They are Highland Art Studios, and he is the Highland artist.
Right, and they're in strategic points, Andy. You can't avoid these things.
Yeah, they're all the sort of like towns. There's one in Oban, there's Inverary, Luss, Loch Lomond, and Callander, which are all kind of like sort of routes that little buses go and take little old ladies from like the north of England to.
Yes.
And they all like herd in and spend hours, and you can't get them back out because they get things like free shortbread and things like that to make them and kind of think well of the man. Although he's a truly heroic figure. He's sort of he's like for painting and for music and poetry, because he's an artist, a composer, and a poet, at least he says he is. He's sort of like a Scottish equivalent of Ed Wood.
Right.
You know, he's incredibly enthusiastic, and he really, really believes what he's doing is really great and of wonderful value. And I've brought down some examples. It's always good to have visual aids when you're on the radio, I reckon.
Usually works for us.
Look at that one, listeners. Here's a postcard of some Jacobites. And it is, I mean...
There is a postcard of some Jacobites, isn't it?
Well,
You're right.
you would not have known they were Jacobites, would they, unless he'd said so.
If you notice,
you thought Jacobites were cream crackers.
The feathers on their hats are blowing in the opposite direction of the flag, and there's all these little faults. And the other fault about it is, you think to yourself, oh, I'll buy a nice postcard to send home. And then he's such a show-off on the other side of it. There's no room to write even an address. It's got one of his poems.
Oh. Are you going to regale us with any of these great words?
Yeah, I'm going to read you an absolutely fabulous poem. Actually, C. John Taylor is from Newcastle, but he's an honorary Scot because he's such a great man and he's done so much for our culture. He wrote a poem called Chaplain. I wonder if you can imagine what that's about. And it's actually, in brackets, New Night, Old Clown, and it was written on the 2nd of January 1975 on hearing Chaplain at long last had been knighted.
Right.
Master of mirth, we on this earth acknowledge the dearth of men of your worth. 80 years and more we surmise passed away before arise. Sir Charles was by majesty spoken, 'tis we suspect just a token. To you with your fame, your inimitable cane, and enduring acclaim, Charles Chaplin's the name. No jesters retain respect and affection, or approached your perfection. Tramp, dictator, comic, king, and now knight, mankind's genius of laughter and sheer delight.
Oh, brilliant. That one of John Egley's, wasn't it?
Inspiring.
That's good. No.
Oh, inspiring.
Brilliant.
That is good.
He even done a picture of Chaplin there, which, I mean...
Oh, that's good.
But is he out like that Glaswegian piss artist, See You Jimmy? No, he's not, is he?
Distant relation. But there's also an absolutely wonderful thing that he claims that when he's doing these paintings, that people like Rembrandt and Leonardo and Vincent van Gogh, Modigliani and Rolf Harris all kind of come to him like he's a kind of a medium, and we kind of give him advice. And
it's a shame when he was doing poetry that Pam Ayres came to him, innocent, not Wordsworth.
I know, I'm surprised none of them actually said, look, give in. This is our advice to you. And so he claims that all these people kind of paint through him, and
well, no wonder it's crap then. I mean, you've got to get the brush through this.
There's some wonderful things, like there's a photograph of him here, which again, I'm sorry you can't see this, but it's underneath it that he's kind of looking very artistic. He's got a little beard like mine and a nice kind of check cap, and he's saying, like underneath it says, photographed during a colour television programme. It's got,
impressive.
It's got even some Gaelic translations of some of these poems, which I'll resist reading, although they're even more inspiring in the original version. And the other thing about him is he always moans about how Van Gogh and Rembrandt, I mean, these are his buddies, you know, and he's like, he's talking about them in this way, and he's always saying, you know, the thing is, we made big mistake, they all died in poverty, they didn't know what they were doing as far as marketing goes. So he kind of gets his original paintings in his exhibitions and puts them on things like tea towels. I brought one from Lard for when he's doing a washing up.
Yes. He don't do aprons, does he?
That's a Jacobite tea towel, isn't it?
It is, actually, I said that, it's Jacobite. Look at the feathers going the wrong way to the flag, it's terrible.
And on butter tablet, he puts his stuff on things like that. And this is one of his records, which I know you're always looking for new acts. So
is your drummer on that?
Right, go on.
Our drummer, it's one of the few Scottish acts our drummer does not play with.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And this is a back scratcher, which apparently he didn't design, but it is in his exhibition.
No, that's Rembrandt's design, Dad. Anybody can see that.
It's got a little man wearing a kilt and playing the bagpipes. And the ironic thing is, made in China. Can you imagine anyone in China sitting, like, producing them bits? That's their job.
It's not a back scratcher, that's a crack scratcher, that.
Yeah, I mean, if Rembrandt came through him with that, you'd know about it, wouldn't you?
I mean, if only Van Gogh had made tea towels. I mean, he wrote this and composed it.
See John Taylor.
Your drummer is on this.
No, I mean, the great thing about this cover of that is, though, I can just see John Taylor looking a bit like Rolf Harris with long hair and a flat cap on, and he stood on the beach there doing a painting with the brush between his teeth, and on the top of a rock is a young woman in a bikini wrestling with a woolly dog.
Yeah, that's why they had to cut the middle like that.
No, and then he's cut the middle. It's a picture sleeve with the middle completely cut out.
I think that's censorship.
That's the only flaw in his otherwise cunning marketing
It's not a woolly dog.
All right.
You need new specs.
Oh, well, excuse me, Johnny Bloody Morris. Right, okay then. The career of C. John Taylor, of which more later. Where are we? Stuart from BMX Bandits is here in the boy Lard. And if you get a chance, actually, this C. John Taylor souvenir of the Highlands of Scotland's booklet. Really is well worth having. There's his first painting inside is C. John Taylor's Stones of Iona, painted in oils during a storm. And by the looks of it, he was on a boat when he did it.
His sketch of Russell Harty is the best.
Awe-inspiring. Well, this is a good one. It's got one here of Robert Burns. This oil portrait was completed in 1970, painted off New Zealand's South Island. The living model, a talented musician who, to me, seemed a true likeness of the immortal Robert Burns. What do you think? True likeness of Alf Roberts, as far as I can see. There's the one who says, I painted this yacht in oils outside my studio. Like, you'd have a yacht inside the studio. Then you turn over the page and think, oh, that one of William Shakespeare's pretty good. It says, this portrait of William Shakespeare is by an unknown artist.
What's it doing in his catalogue?
What's it in there for God's sake? More C. John Taylor glories a bit later on. Stephen Daly is online to us from New York. Are you familiar with C. John Taylor, Stephen?
I am now. I'm getting all kinds of choked up here. Oh, the motherland.
Well, I tell you what, I don't know. It's fantastic stuff. I think it would bring it all back. In fact, Douglas, we'll order up a couple of paintings and send them over to Stephen.
Yeah.
That'll be great. That'll bring it all back. My dinner, that is.
Okay, he's feeling homesick. Anyway, Stephen, film project that never got off the ground is where we're up to at the moment, I think.
Yes, indeed. This is the summer, the season of the summer blockbusters. You're bombarded with all these films that are guaranteed to make $300 million.
Yeah.
But there's some that seem that they would make that, but they can never go off the ground. Spider-Man is an obvious one, follow up Batman, whatever, cash in. But they refuse to make it. The company has the rights, refuse to make it because they don't own the merchandising. So they're not going to go anywhere until they can get that sewn up.
Right.
And squeeze all the little kids for all their little, pocket money dollars. There's also, I can't remember if I told you this before, but Planet of the Apes remake. How unlikely is that? But the considerable talents involved are Oliver Stone and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, right. Not Gary Oldman.
Oh, yeah, he's playing one of the, fill in the punchline yourself. But, and one of the other ones is Godzilla, which the director of Speed, Jan de Bont, was going to make. But he thought $100 million wasn't enough to make it. He needed 130, so it's not going to happen.
Right.
And actually, under this bracket, I was reading a couple of articles this week about all these great unseen projects, and somehow they managed to lump Naomi Campbell's album in there as well. Because they've shoved that under the carpet for America. I don't think we're ever going to see it.
I must get that. I've still not heard that.
Corking.
Hey?
Corking album.
You'll never lend it me, will you?
No.
I'd have thought you'd been playing it every night in between, Pulp and the BMX Bandits.
Well, that's it.
But no offence.
Don't push your luck, Daly. We want a word with you later.
I have a word.
Now, what's this about Clinton's brother?
Oh yeah, sorry. He's there's something in LA called the Learning Annex, which is sort of a community college, whatever, and they have
A school.
Sort of, yeah, but you pay per lecture,
Right.
So it's $30 to show up and hear Roger Clinton, Bill's white trash, no good brother, and his lecture is growing up and overcoming the obstacles of a dysfunctional family. So I'll be bringing a transcript of that the next time I come in here.
Well, that's interesting because Teddy Major Ball, who John Major's brother was on, have I got news for you this week? And,
I saw him on the Mrs. Merton show. Sue flipping perb.
Sue flipping that there perb.
But one more thing about films in Scotland. I told you last time Rob Roy was on.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember Liam Neeson's name. God forgive me. Well, Mel Gibson is right now in Braveheart, the story of William Wallace, and he's been doing the rounds on touting it on TV.
You say the story of William Waldegrave.
No, William Wallace, the former Celtic inside forward. So he goes. One of the guys asked him about kilts and all that because they lift their kilts in the film, and it's all very novel to Americans. Quite a funny line. Mel Gibson said to one of the extras from Glasgow while they're making the film, he says, "So what do Scotsmen wear under the kilts?" And the guy says, "Your wife's lipstick."
Don't get that.
Now, since you're talking about Clinton, in fact, Douglas, you have got a poem from the bard himself, C. John Taylor.
Well, believe it or not, it's actually one of these bizarre things like the painting of William Shakespeare, which he didn't do. It's not actually a poem. I don't understand why it's in his catalogue, but it's about presidents, and it's maybe sort of appropriate at this time. It's called Truth is Stranger Than Fiction. Here are some facts about President Lincoln and Kennedy, their assassins and their successors. 1. Mr. Lincoln?
Freudian slip.
Mr. Lincoln was elected in 1860, John F. Kennedy in 1960. Both presidents were assassinated on a Friday in the presence of their wives. Both presidents died from being shot in the head. Both presidents were succeeded by a president named Johnson. President Andrew Johnson was born in 1808, Lyndon Johnson in 1908. President Lincoln's secretary, now this is where it gets really strange, named Kennedy, warned him not to go to where he got shot. I'm kind of abbreviating this for time. And Kennedy's secretary, named Lincoln, told him not to go to Dallas. The assassinated president's successors' names each contain 13 letters, as well as being Johnson. Of the assassins, Booth was born in 1839, Oswald in 1939. The assassins' full names each contain 15 letters, and both assassins were assassinated on the way to trial. The mysterious world of C. John Taylor.
Yeah, what biggest mystery is, why is it in the bleeding book? I mean, what's it got to do with C. John Taylor? I mean, in fact, I must say that there's a binding, which I've just noticed has fallen off the book. It says, the show the BBC televised. C. John Taylor's Welcome to My World. Jesus Christ, no wonder the late.
They're all quality items on the BBC, though, aren't they?
All quality items. Anyway, Stephen, are we done?
I was just going to ask, I don't know if Douglas is a football-watching man, but...
I'm too soppy for that, Stephen.
Oh, no. Oh, well. I can't ask you about Gascoigne joining Glasgow Rangers.
I don't know. Does this mean I can't get involved in this?
I'm too busy flower arranging.
Okay, well, next time for that.
All right, Stephen Daly, thanks very much.
See you, Mark.
And this will make you feel even more homesick. C. John Taylor's Highland of Beauty.
And leave Douglas alone.
Softly come home to me. Islands of beauty, boats sailing by. Breezes enchant me, passing clouds side. Islands of beauty, magic.
Duglas Stewart of the BMX Bandits is still with us. I believe there's a new club that you were wanting to tell us about.
Yeah, there's a club that actually ran about 2 years ago, and it's called Teardrops, and the whole theme of the club is they don't play music, it's happy and you can get up and dance. They play really, really depressing music. The thing is, it's records that make people cry, and it's everything from melodramatic Shangri-La's records to Nick Drake and to Scott Walker. And if anybody saw Scott Walker on Later, you probably know what I'm talking about. That makes you want to cry.
Well, that would cheer me up no end. That was hilarious.
Tears of joy, but tears of laughter.
Oh, we'll give you 21.
Oh, it was brilliant, that.
Almost as good as C. John Taylor Islands of Beauty, I think.
Right, where is this club?
It's called Teardrops, and it's at the 13th Note in Glasgow every Saturday night.
Right, okay then.
So go and have a good weep.
And you're going to find us some C. John Taylor verses, sort of something suitably prophetic to finish the programme with.
Yeah, I'm going to do you another little reading at the end.
That'd be lovely, that'd be lovely. And talking about clubs, and your momentous appearance in Worcester, of course, where you got 17 people with the BMX Bandits. I've got a letter here from Glenn Williams, and it says, Dear Mark, hearing Lard's tour date memoirs recently reminds me of the story of my mate at work, George. Post-fall times, he went to see the boy Lard playing with his own band in Glasgow. George really enjoyed the gig, so obviously this evidence is
Top fella.
Blighted, isn't it?
Top fella.
But the most memorable thing for George was that he slept with the 25% of the audience.
Wow!
He went with his then girlfriend, an ex, and his brother. So
Wow, he must have been right motoring, eh? What a lad, eh? What a lad.
He'd slept with 3, that's 25%, times 4, 12, plus George, 13.
Lying get. Lying get.
So he's beat you by 4.
Well, he's better than me, isn't he?
Well, yes.
Yes. Come on, Douglas.
Okay.
You're good too.
Oh, Tom.
Oh, steady on. Right. In fact, I think we'll have a very brief Uncle Tony's Catalogue corner at this juncture. And I'll go first. This is one. Great fun, great talking point, yet practical. Keep those unsightly potatoes out of the way in Potato Head. I mean, unsightly potatoes, is that a big problem for you? You know, potatoes in the kitchen, but the thing I think of it, it's got a terracotta potato head, and indeed it is Jimmy Somerville. Dead ringer. Okay then, right, go on, boy lad.
Woof, woof. Intruder deterrent. Novel idea. Battery-operated dog with sensor. Simply place 4 HP11 batteries up its ring piece and place your pet where you need it. By the door, the window, and when the sensor detects movement or torchlight, your new pet will start barking. You would, wouldn't you?
You would. I think you've put your own addition to that.
There was an annex to it, but you'd have to spot it.
You're just a natural salesman, aren't you?
Oh, yes.
Now, this is a really good one. New design, Grandma and Grandpa shelf ornaments. So you get a little Grandma and Grandpa, and they sit there and dangle the legs off the bookshelf, and it looks fantastic. A fun ornament for the home. And the thing is, I find slightly distasteful, is that they're obviously like real grandparents, aren't they? They've died and just become shrunken. It's kind of miracle bonsai grandparent novelty, isn't it?
I've got a sort of similar, slightly disturbing story about a distant relation of mine. Well, actually, it was a great aunt who used to live up the Highlands of Scotland, and when her husband departed this mortal coil, I died, she knitted a life-size rag doll of him with buttons for eyes, had him dressed up in some of his old clothes, his slippers, pipes sewn onto the woolly mouth, kind of floppy woolly hair, and had him sitting on the gentleman's favourite old chair. And I'm sure it would be like Luby Lou, probably. Like when Andy Pandy and Teddy used to leave the room, she used to get up and dance. I'm sure he probably got up and danced and wielded knives about and creepy stuff like that.
I'm sure that one was a drummer in the Creepers. Well.
Penny for the guy. And I think I'll get one of those of you. That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
I'll have 2.
Right, perfect.
Mark Radcliffe, missing you already.